السلام عليكم. السيشن حقنا حنبدأ هنا اليوم فنتوكل على الله سبحانه وتعالى. Good evening everyone. I'm very happy to see all of you here. Welcome to the Science, Technology and Innovation Day at COP16 Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's an honor to be with such a dedicated people who care about our planet. Today, we come together to talk about a very important topic, taking care of our land. Our theme is our land, our future. This year, we also celebrate the 30th anniversary of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. It's a great time to renew our pledge to the U.S. science and innovation to protect our land. We will have a special discussion called From Degradation to Restoration, the power and the impact of land governance in community across the globe, not only here in Saudi Arabia, but all over the world. And here we will learn how to smart land management can help with the climate change and protect diversity. I encourage all of you to think about the goals we want to achieve today. By the end of our session, we are hoping to understand how good land governance can not only fix environmental problems, but also highlight successful projects led by community. Before we begin our discussion, it is an honor to introduce our moderator for the panel, Dr. Muhammad. In Africa, they call it Dr. Mamadou Baro. He's a professor and the director of the Bureau of Anthropology in Applied Research at the University of Arizona. And his expertise will guide us toward an impactful outcomes as we navigate today's dialogue. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much. I'm really very excited and happy to be here in Saudi Arabia. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. This topic is very important, and we are here to really come up with some kind of actions, in terms of the crisis related to land governance, land tenure issues, the importance of understanding also collaboration and cooperation between nation states to deal with the problems that the world is going through right now. So ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates and esteemed colleagues, it is both an honor and a profound responsibility to address this panel at the 16th conference of the parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Today, we convene at a pivotal moment, not only for policy, but also for humanity collective relationship with land. Land is very important. Even in the Holy Quran, there are many verses about land. Land is a place where we get our food. Land is a place where we get our water. Okay? Land also is a place where we socialize as human beings. So it's really very crucial that we take good care of that shared resource, which is land. Now, when it comes to land, it is important also to realize the importance of good governance, okay? Land governance. And I want to talk a little bit about the invisible foundation of land health. We talk about health for human beings, but we also need to talk about health for land. If the land is not healthy, human beings also won't be healthy. So in addressing this crisis, governance emerges as a critical level, often unseen but profoundly impactful. Land governance involves the formal and informal systems through which rights, responsibilities, and decision-making processes regarding land use are taken. It is the thread that connects the local to the global, and the individual to the collective, the past to the future. Effective land governance has the potential to empower marginalized communities, protect biodiversity, and safeguard climate stability. So good governance of land is very important. Conversely, weak or inequitable land governance systems often amplify degradation, displacement, and conflict. And we see a lot of conflicts around the world today in terms of land and land issues. The stake could not be higher today. And Saudi Arabia is playing an important role in getting all the parties about understanding the issue, but also coming with a common understanding and also solutions to this challenge. Yet, we are also inspired by stories of resilience. So resilience is very important, making sure that not only we go through shocks, crisis, but being able to recover from it. Like a boxer, you fight, you knock down, but you don't stay down. You get up, and you get even better, and then you win the fight. So in a way, also resilience plays an important role in all this. Now, quickly, I want to talk about the role of policy and multilateral collaboration. The UNCCD, the Saudi government, and multilateral frameworks play a crucial role in fostering dialogue, setting targets, and mobilizing resources. However, policies must be more than declarations, just talks and on paper. They must translate it into action that is localized, inclusive, and equitable. This means investing in capacity building for communities, making communities resilient. When you talk about resilience, it's important to understand also the need to make people and communities resilient, and ensuring the representation of marginalized groups in decision-making processes, and strengthening legal frameworks to protect against land grabbing and unsustainable exploitation of land. Things that are not sustainable, they're not going to last forever, that will destroy the environment, are things we must avoid. So in Saudi Arabia, with the help of our colleagues here at the University of Arizona, who has a long tradition of collaboration with Saudi Arabia, we are to call for action. As we look toward solution, let us remember that the restoration is not merely a technical challenge. And my colleague here is going to talk about that. He has an interesting insight since yesterday about that, but I will let him talk about it. It is also a political and a moral imperative. So that's very, very important for us to understand. So we as policy makers, researchers, advocates, community leaders, all stakeholders basically must remember that important element. So in closing, I invite each of you to reflect on the interconnectedness of the challenges we face today. The big word is crisis. But sometimes in crisis, you have opportunities to make a big difference. So we need to also make sure that we do that. So land degradation knows no boundaries. When it comes to land degradation, we're not talking about nation state. And neither should our effort also to combat it. So in combating land degradation, we need to get united, okay? And I think also here what is interesting is the leadership that Saudi Arabia is taking in that direction. So without going further, I just would like to introduce our speakers here and also tell you the order of the presentations. And we are really having here people who think out of the box in trying actually to make sure we find sustainable solutions. Sometimes it's important to think out of the box. And these ideas are really innovative ideas that you're going to be hearing from the panel today. First of all, we have Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rashid, who's an adjunct professor at the Department of Agricultural and Biosystem Engineering, College of Agriculture and Life Science from the University of Arizona. And also, he will be talking today about the role of social agriculture as an economical methodology for avoiding land degradation and achieving. He has very interesting ideas. Many of those ideas are in this book that he published. It's called Agricultural Development Strategies, the Saudi Experience, that I would strongly advise you to get and read it carefully. And also, we have in our panel Dr. Rod Wing, who's the director and professor, Center for Desert Agriculture, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, KAUST. He's going to talk about the use of Saudi native plant genetics to address land degradation on the Arabian Peninsula. So that's very interesting. It's a case study, successful one, with a lot of interesting lessons that can be applied to other parts of the world. We have countries in the Sahel, the Sahel, countries are confronted with, and I will let him, the time also to explain to you. And then we have also Dr. Kevin Fitzsimmons, who is from the University of Arizona, who is very involved in interesting innovations in agriculture in general, also works extensively in Africa and also in America. So we have a wonderful panel today to address these issues. So we're going to start with you, Rod, to tell us about your experience.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I didn't know I was up first, so
you're always first.
I'm always first. Okay, good. So my name's Rod Wing. I'm a professor at KAUST. I've lived in Saudi Arabia now for about 6 years, and I also am on a leave of absence from the University of Arizona in the School of Plant Sciences. At KAUST, I was the director for the Center of Desert Agriculture, and then they closed all the centers at KAUST and have reorganized now, so we have a new center on sustainable food security. So I'm here today to discuss some of the work that we're doing in the area of combating desertification, and I'm going to talk about two topics. One is when I first came here, we met with folks from the national MIWA is the Ministry of the Water, Environment, and Agriculture. They have a center called the National Center for NCVC, National Center for Vegetation Cover and Combating Desertification. And during that meeting, we learned many things about their mandate. One is they're responsible for managing and preserving almost a third of the country's terrestrial landscape, which that's a huge mandate. The other one is that they're involved within this 1/3 of the country, also developing 500 national parks, which is very exciting. So during our conversations, we asked ourselves, well, what can we do to help in the preservation of this large land, 1/3 of the country? And we came up with a couple of concepts. One is called the KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Native Genome Project. And the other one is to the development of experiment stations, similar to what we have in the United States, on developing areas that can be used to develop new technologies in the field to help combat desertification. So the KSA Native Genome Project, this is actually being led. The face of the project is Nahid Mohammed, who's in the audience right here. You can say that. She's my first postdoc at KAUST, and she's also a native Saudi Arabian. So the Native Genome Project is a project where we're essentially interrogating terrestrial ecosystems. So we'll take a native plant species, sequence its genome, understand its sequence its microbiome, understand its root architecture, its metabolic profile, and the soil atlas around it, and also its microbiome profile. So we had a pilot project to test 15 terrestrial ecosystems, native ecosystems. A couple of these terrestrial ecosystems as examples would be Ziziphus spinocrista. This is it's a native tree that can tolerate salt water, and this is where the cedar honey comes from. This is the crown of Christ. And another example is a plant called Salvadora persica. And the local name for this is a rock or miswak, which is essentially the Saudi toothbrush. If you're here and you get a chance to try it, it's pretty amazing. And the Saudi Salvador persica is a magical plant in that it anchors the desert floor. You can grow it with salt water, but at the same time, it also makes a berry, an edible berry, that you can that's highly nutritious. So one of our targets is to be able to domesticate this plant. So we're essentially growing the plant in the desert. It's actually combating desertification, making this extensive root system, watering it with salt water, but producing tons and tons of berries. So we can actually buy these in the supermarket rather than going to buying blueberries from Ecuador or Peru that have flown halfway around the world. So the Native Genome Project, so we started out with these 15 systems, terrestrial ecosystems, and we've completed this project. The manuscript is under preparation, and now the Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced the concept of the Saudi Green Initiative to plant 10 billion trees. So KAUST, working with the National Center for Vegetation Cover, have come up with a list of 300 native species that are targets for greening the country. So now we're working to apply this Native Genome Project on these 300 species. And so, what can you really do with a genome? Okay, so for example, again, the Salvadora, the idea is we have a reference genome sequence, and then the next thing we do is resequence Salvador across its species range in Saudi Arabia, and then use that information to understand the genetic diversity of the species in the country, and to see if there's any bottlenecks, to see if there's any loss of biodiversity, or there's quite a bit of diversity, and try to preserve that, to conserve that as a very important plant for combating desertification. So it's an exciting project. We've been able to, it includes three other KAUST PIs, Ikram Blalou, who's doing the root and leaf development, Salim Al-Bibi, who's doing the metabolic profiling, and Heribert Hurt and Magid Saad, who are doing the microbiome work. So it's a team effort at KAUST, and it's a really exciting project, and it's allowed me to actually see a lot of the country and learn about the environment. And KAUST is, Saudi Arabia is not just desert. There's lots of biodiversity in the country. And I think one of the main biodiversity hotspots is in southwest Saudi Arabia, in the Jazan area, where there's lots and lots of biodiversity there. But there's quite a bit distributed around the country. So the other question that we're trying to address, again, is this idea of, how can we make an impact on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to preserve biodiversity and be able to green the country better. So we have also recently opened a brand new experiment station in Saudi Arabia near KAUST. The experiment station is called the Wadi Kadid Experiment Station. And This is, again, another collaboration with NCVC. They have provided 300, they found a parcel of about 350 hectares of land about 20 minutes from Koust, and that's going to be the Wadi Khadid National Park. Within the national park is the Wadi Khadid Experiment Station. So we just recently opened this, this facility up, and right now we've planted, there's a shade house, there's plans to develop greenhouse facilities, and we've recently planted 1,500 native species and are doing different soil amendments, different irrigation amendments, so on and so forth. And this experiment station is meant to be a site for scientists throughout Saudi Arabia to test their technologies for combating desertification in a hot and humid environment of Jeddah, as well as to bring in commercial entities who want to test their products and their IP out to demonstrate to NCVC how they can actually make a contribution to combating desertification. And much of this work is also done in collaboration with the University of Arizona. We're basically a similar latitude around the world, and so this is also a very exciting opportunity. And this is considered one of the first, if not the first, experiment station in Saudi Arabia designed this way. And this is modeled after the land-grant universities in the United States, where like the University of Arizona is the land-grant university for Arizona, and they have experiment stations that are located where the action is, where the farmers are, where the landscape restoration people are, to teach and test and develop new and innovative concepts and ideas related to agriculture and landscape restoration. So I think with that, I'll just end and just say that it's very exciting to work on this project, and the potential is huge. And one of the long-term goals is to really train the next generation of ecological stewards in Saudi Arabia, and that's very exciting. And Nahed Mohammed is the leader in that area, and we're excited that she's serving as a role model, a female role model in this nation to promote ecological stewardship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rod. This is really exciting and interesting to stick with Saudi Arabia, because a lot of interesting things are happening that we are seeing since we arrived here. We're going to have Dr. Turki share also his experience, just so that way we have, with Saudi Arabia, and then we're going to move to Africa after that. Over to you.
السلام عليكم. كم واحد من الحضور يعرف عن social agriculture، الزراعة الاجتماعية؟ Anyone؟ الزراعة الاجتماعية؟ أوكي. إذا كان أحد من الحضور يتوقع أنه الزراعة هي فلاحة وزراعة وإنتاج، أقول له أخي الكريم، سيدتي الكريمة، سيدتي الفاضلة، أنتم غلطانين. الزراعة ليست إنتاج فقط، الزراعة هي سياسة، هي تحقيق. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, I'll explore social agriculture as a sustainable strategy. I'll try to be quick, so you will have time. You will have time for the Q&A. That might be more interactive rather than just we blah 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 talk and you listen. So, promoting ecological restoration, let's discover innovative solutions together for thriving environmental for generation to come. This session focuses on the importance of working together. It takes two to tango. There is no one hand could clap by itself. We need to work together in order to achieve our goals. To combat land degradation in dry area where environmental issue put people's life at risk. Social agriculture is an approach that help communities become stronger, improve food security, enhance national security, and support sustainable practice. This strategy enables local people to restore their land and adapt to the impact of climate change. I'll give you some background about what I'm trying to say here. Saudi Arabia, many people think the relationship between the Saudi government and the US government started because of oil. The fact is, the meeting that took place between King Abdulaziz and President Roosevelt in 1945, they did not mention the word oil. All what they talked about is water security and food security to help the national security of the country and to develop the rural area. Then they made a deal which will be Saudi government, US government, Aramco as a company, the University of Arizona, and the University of Texas. Things doesn't happen coincidentally. I went to the University of Arizona. The Minister of Agriculture, who created the agriculture boom together with King Fahd, Dr. Abdurrahman al-Sheikh, he went to the University of Texas. The Saudi government covered all expenses, focusing on water management and food security that have developed Al-Kharj, which is only 70 kilometers away from Riyadh. And in the process of creating or writing my book that I'm doing now, the food security and water security in Saudi Arabia and the Arab world, majority of the people, in fact, 35% strongly agree, and 33% they do agree the important roles of government to achieve such policies. Food security is a national security. Food security is deeply intertwined with national security, as chronic hunger poses a significant threat to individual, government, society, and even the integrities of the national border. To achieve true food security, we need capable and effective governance that recognize the political dimension of agriculture development. Agriculture requires a lot of politics. It's like playing chess. You cannot just say we're going to do agriculture and that's it. There is a lot of aspect to it. Unfortunately, for the last 30 years when I've been talking about it, nobody listened to it. But now they have changed. Why? Because of the food crisis in 2007, 2008, and now it's very clear. Weaponizing food, weaponizing water, weaponizing access to energy. I have a hypothetical question to everybody. If you analyze a 1 kilo of wheat, if you analyze it, you will find 12% protein, 88% politics. Now you might agree with that or disagree with that, but what I'm trying to say is wheat is politics. Social agriculture, cultivating resilience in the arid land. I'll share with you my experience. What is social agriculture? Why did I get involved with social agriculture? Back in 1995, I was invited to the State of the World Forum in San Francisco. It was part of the Gorbachev Foundation. He gathered many world leaders in all aspects of the society. And I have met with Dr. Muhammad Yunus. As you could see, he have built microcredit, and now he is the president of Bangladesh. Saudi Arabia, as I said, they have started the agriculture project in 1940 with the help of the US government, Aramco, University of Arizona, University of Texas, and they have built Al-Kharj. In fact, a year later, the Crown Prince, which is King Saud then, he flew to Arizona and he flew to Texas, and almost a year later, which is in 1948, that one is the establishment of the Al-Kharj project. What is social agriculture? Social agriculture combines social value with farming practice. This approach is more than just growing food. It fosters social connection to help build strong community, encouraging collaboration, sharing knowledge, using sustainable methods. Social agriculture improves food security, support environmental restoration, and strengthening the country's national security. On a survey I made about the importance of social agriculture, nearly 40% strongly agree, and nearly 40% agree. So it's about 80%. They strongly agree and agree. As I said, wheat is 12%, protein 88%. Politics, I've asked this question. I asked this hypothetical question. I was really surprised. I thought I was the only one think that. 60% of the sample strongly agree, 32% they agree. So we got 92% agree with that hypothesis. So before I was a little bit shaky to talk about it, but now I have more confidence to put my argument forward. Why social agriculture is important? It's very important for several reasons. It gives both men, women, farmer in the village, number one, any guess? It gives them access to new ideas, networking. It gives especially the disadvantaged background, the support, and the dealing with land degradation, dry region. Social agriculture offer a way to restore those land while also improving people's life. One of the major problems we are facing worldwide now, because of the cutthroat capitalism, أسميها الرأسمالية المتوحشة, is the inequality. A handful of people, less than a handful of people, they own more than half of the wealth of the world. So that is a problem. We need to lower that gap as much as we can. Then I put a question, why people migrate? Why the city became so big and rural area are being deserted? People are moving from rural area into a big city. A lot of people think because it's improved their life standard, improve their income, better social environment, better health care, and better education. When social agriculture is important? It's important all the time. But during crisis, that's really what matters, such as drought, natural disaster, diseases, outbreak. In those difficult times, building community unit and teamwork help with recovery and resilience. Before, when we talk about drought, we talk about problems, we were talking about national. Now, when we had COVID, one part of the country maybe have abandoned food production, but the other side don't have any supply. So now we have to look into a new innovation system called urban farming. So to support the food security during crisis. I put the question, resilience in crisis, the Saudi approach to food security during global challenges. 60% they strongly agree we did a good job. 32% they agree. Where is social agriculture to be used? It could be used worldwide. There is no country doesn't need to apply social agriculture. But especially important in arid and semi-arid region, especially in the Arab world. We have to realize, we have to know, we have to face reality. The majority of the Arab countries do suffer to get their basic human need. So we have to address those issues. In those areas, we can use local knowledge, traditional practice, and innovative technology to restore damaged land, improve soil health, and increase agriculture productivity. The effective development program supporting social agriculture projects in the Arab country villages throughout collaboration among government, private company, and academia to achieve sustainability. I'll give you an example. I promote, I'll take Lebanon as an example. In Lebanon, there is 1,200 villages. My argument, if we give $30,000 per village with the cooperation of American University, the local government, and the local peoples, then we could improve at least 200 individuals, 200 people per village. That will give a lot of improvement for Lebanon. It's very important, especially as a program for rebuilding countries after war. And you know, we have a lot of wars going on. This teamwork among different aspects or different sectors is the most effective way to reach sustainability. This model can be replicated to other countries. How to use social agriculture? As I said, a successful implementation social agriculture is a multi-dimension approach. Is needed that start with a triple helix model. What is a triple helix model of innovation? It involves collaboration among government bodies, private organization, and academia institution, engaging local communities and stakeholders in the decision-making process of crucial education and capacity building program that empower the individual and the group. Additionally, forming a partnership between government, NGOs, and private sector can provide a resources and experience massive. Not a single country or a single identity can do that. I'll give you an example from Saudi Arabia. الحمد لله إنه السعودية سوت هذا البرنامج وطبقته. Empowering communities through social agriculture, Saudi social agriculture provided a significant benefit to many groups. I'll give you an example. Saudi Arabia have launched an initiative in Jizan. It illustrates this impact. They make it a contract with IFAD, an international organization. And by the way, Saudi Arabia was one of the main instruments who have created the IFAD, led by $4 million. Yeah, you might think $4 million is a very small amount. It's not. If you use it effectively, it's a lot of money. The $4 million project to establish 60 model mango farm and 10 models of coffee farms. This initiative aimed to help 30,000 farmers by introducing advanced agriculture technology using recycled water and encouraging innovative production method. Saudi Arabia commitment, as I said, I always believe social agriculture is a vital to be used as the donation programs on their donation. Alhamdulillah, now they implemented it. Saudi Arabia have recently given an example of a commitment of $10 million with King Salman Center for Relief and the Higher Commissions of Lebanon, $10 million. Yeah, you could say $10 million is a small amount. It's not, it's a huge amount. We used to give billions of dollars and the result was zero. Now with the $10 million, we have achieved wonder. If you use it, if you manage it, if you monitor it, it's highly effective. This highlights the importance of the kingdom dedication to humanitarian cause and sustainable agriculture practices. One of the worst things we used to do before, we give donation, we don't mention it, we don't talk about it. And now, one of the best things Saudi Arabia have done, now you could go into the King Salman Relief and you could find every country how much Saudi Arabia have donated to it and all the projects. Before I used to throw this argument. If you go to Saudi embassy, I repeat, if you go to Saudi embassy into any of these countries and you ask them to name 3 projects Saudi Arabia have financed in those countries, I assure you, I bet you, that they will not know. Now, it is available online. Everybody could read about it, and I could see how much we have helped. I put a question for collaborative framework for sustainable agriculture, which is the triple helix. Nearly 70%, they strongly agree, and about 20% they agree. So almost 90%. That is the triple helix, which is government, academia, and private sector. They work together. Of course, we have challenges. How do you come with those challenges? If you don't have challenges, you have a problem. If everything you think is going right, then you're on the wrong side of it. You have to, if you don't face difficulties, you know you're in the wrong direction. You could sit home, do nothing, and you're still going to have a problem. So successful people always face challenges. What are those challenges? Number 1, economic challenge. Instability often limit investment in agriculture project. Water scarcity. Water scarcity is in every country. I don't know a single country in this earth, maybe Argentina as an exception, didn't have a problem with the water. Furthermore, climate change. It impacts the rural area a lot more than the urban area. Why? Because money goes to urban area, because the urban people, they have the authorities, they have the voting, they have the TV, they have the mouth to talk. People in the rural area, they don't have that power. That's why they're always the least being developed and the most being affected by crisis. Finally, many small farmers struggle to access market for their product, which limit their ability to succeed in competitive environment. I was invited in Sri Lanka at the Commonwealth, and there was a 52 or a 54 president, prime ministers in that meeting, and it was in Sri Lanka, 2013. And I put that argument, and I think it was the vice president of Nigeria. He challenged me, and he said, I will do this, I'll do this. I said, you wouldn't even have time, because rural area, it's easy for you to build a bridge or a tunnel for $1 billion, but it's very hard for you to build a dirt road in the middle of Nigeria that costs $100,000. He made a pledge that when he go home, he will create a special department, have full access to him to visit those areas and fulfill their need. He did, by the way, made that commitment, and I know he succeeded. Collaborative action against climate change. The role of government, almost 50% of the people, they said it is important. Private sector, and then you could share, I will share with you this PowerPoint. You could find it at the website of the University of Arizona, and we will find other ways also that it will be available. And I'm sure it is available at the COP16. You could talk to our good organizer, and I'm sure they will make it available online. Let's talk about another project. Saudi Arabia have built the terrace, which is the RATL in Jizan, المدرجات. As I said, they have spent $4 million, and it affects 30,000 farmers. And we have looked at القهوة الخولانية. How many of you tasted الخولانية? هزيت راسك. It's a wonderful. I used to buy it in a big sack, and we pay a lot of money for it, and we lose about almost 20% only dirt, and we clean it. Now we could buy it from Jizan, and my God, it's beautiful. And I am a coffee drinker. The organic farming, how important it is. Nearly 56%, they strongly agree in the importance of the organic farming. Advancing social agriculture for sustainable impact. As I said, improve that we need to expand the existing program. We need to make a deal with the NGO. We need to get involved all stakeholders. اليد الواحدة ما تصفق. If we don't collaborate with everybody, there is no way we can succeed. We have to regenerative farming technique. We have to restore our ecosystem. The old system do work sometime, and we have to depend on it. The aiming, by aligning our effort and resources, we can develop resilience. Land governance through social agriculture for sustainable development. Social agriculture offers, in my opinion, a very strong solution to land degradation. It has many aspects for rural and urban. One aspect is social aspect of agriculture. Goes beyond just market production. It is vital for support social reintegration and encouraging collaboration for sustainable future. It make farmer thrive. It make improve the business development. Ultimately, embracing social agriculture not only help combat land degradation, but also empower community, especially rural community. I will close my talk. Let us leverage the power of social agriculture to combat land degradation. By working together, we can create a sustainable future where our land thrives and our community prospers. For more information about myself, you can visit the website tfrasheed.org. And more about this subject, I have, can I borrow your book, the book, please? You could find this book. It's in Amazon and everywhere. It was released in 2023, and it's also available in Arabic by مركز دراسات الوحدة العربية. It's all available in Arabic and in English. Happy to receive your question.
Thank you very much. This is really insightful and interesting. We'll get back to it. But for the sake of time, Chafi, now we're going to get to you to tell us something about the innovation you made in the Sahel that is actually helping a lot of farmers, women, young people actually improve production and productivity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mamadou. I'm Sani Lola Chafi from Niger. I'm running a company called Prince, which develops a solution for agriculture. Do you know that the phone you guys are using can be used to fight against desertification? Actually, the technology leads us to create the solution for the future of agriculture. Now, we are talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence adapt to agriculture, make it more easier to know the problem of agriculture, to adapt our land, and also to have solution for climate change. We're talking about IoT, Internet of Things. Internet of Things is kind of using sensor and also connect to a device. It may be your phone that you are using or the computer. So in 2024, now, we are combining this technology to create the solution for the future for agriculture. In my company, we are not developing project, but we are developing solution for the future. We have one first project, we call it Smart O. We use artificial IoT solution to create irrigation, to fight against water scarcity. Like an example, if you are a farmer and you are having a phone, you can just use your phone. From your phone, you can know whether your crops are in need of water or not. And then you can pour or activate automatically from wherever you are. Like for example, I'm here, I can control my farm in my country. Simply using your phone. Like, you can also know what the crops need, like the nutrient that is missing. We use this technology to adopt our crops into our land. When we talk about desertification, okay, we create another solution. We combine this technology, but in different way. Like we try to create an artificial intelligence based on the crops requirement. Then from these crops requirements, we go to the land, like desert where there's nothing grow there. There's water missing, there's nutrient missing on the desert. Like we're trying to, based on the crops need, we can know what we need to add to this land to make it productive. And how we are trying to create another life into the Sahara. Then from this, we try this solution in Niger. We have around 400 farmers that are using this technology. And also this technology leads them to increase their livelihood, to reduce water wastage around more than 70% of water wastage has been reduced. And also they increase the productivities of their land, more than 30%. We go to Nigeria, where we implement the prototyping. Actually, the result is very, very appealing. And also, we are trying to implement the solution over the African countries. After this, we are into another solution that we call it Oops Farm. Maybe I didn't talk about it this morning. Yeah. It's not only on irrigation system, but it's also a full ecosystem for agriculture where farmers, stakeholders, NGOs, all those actors who are into agriculture valuation are combining into one platform where each of them have their solution, have their input on this platform. Let's go to farmers. On these farmers, we connect producers and sellers based on their area using artificial intelligence to direct, because in Africa sometimes you can face that they produce at the same time and also they don't know how to sell it. So more than 80% are wasted. So we try to link them for those who want. When the project started, already they know who can buy it. And the one who want to buy, he knows that at certain time, they know that someone is there who is producing what they want. For NGOs, we link them to agricultural projects where they can know exactly where to intervene, like which side they need urgent intervention, and also how they're going to intervene. We create also another algorithm that is going to facilitate the communication with the farmers and NGO. Just like the stakeholders, the government, they also have a portal on this platform where they can also know exactly which side of the country they need more solution, like which side of country need how do you call it? Yeah, which side of country they need to make action, direct action. And the last part of this is the banker. Because right now, Doctor said like many agricultural projects have financial issue. I'm not talking about the global like the government, but I'm talking about the rural farmers. So with this platform, the bankers already knows the value of the production and if the production is bankable or not. Directly they can go to the person because they have the data from the person already. And yeah, we are working on this project and we are implementing this project all over the Africa. But right now we are into 4 countries: Niger, Burkina, Cote d'Ivoire. We have a prototyping in Nigeria and Mozambique also. With this, I want to thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. And I think, this is really about sharing knowledge and connecting people. So Riyadh is an avenue now for interesting things. And I remember this morning we had representatives from other countries in Africa asking Chafi, how can we be in contact with you? We need to do the same thing, in Benin and other places. So it is happening slowly, and it's a very positive thing. And because we want to make this session an interactive one and have people participate, now we're going to, provide an opportunity for questions or comments to be made. Right? Anyone who would like to ask a question? Malavika, go ahead.
Thank you. So my question is about food security. So what are the hidden challenges to food security, and how do culture, politics, and individual choices intervene to influence how communities access and protect their food? That's my question. And
great questions. And I think the idea of hidden things that are not being seen clearly is something that you talked about earlier this morning. And also, maybe you'd be the best person at this point. And since food security is also your area of expertise, to try to respond to Malavika's question.
Okay, let's agree first. Food security is politics. The food security is the political aspect of sustainable agriculture strategies. Now, food security is a power. If you look at, everybody talk about Hiroshima. About 450,000 people got killed in Hiroshima. But with weaponizing food, Iraq officially lost 1 million baby from food security. If you look at the Ireland, the famine in Ireland, 1.6 million people. So food security is a power. Saudi Arabia have struggled to achieve in the late 70s, early 80s. Saudi Arabia, but الله يرحمه الملك فهد ووزير الزراعة الدكتور عبد الرحمن آل الشيخ, King Fahd and the Minister of Agriculture, they have fought it very hard for agriculture to be produced in Saudi Arabia. Because when Saudi Arabia succeeded, a desert country, when they succeeded on challenging the food, that is a really major threat. And if you notice, every time there is a war, the first thing to do is what? Weaponizing food, weaponizing water, weaponizing access to energy. So if leaders, everything you could think of, all the challenges, we could do it. Global warming, we could do it. Anything is in your mind, we could do it as a scientist with a technology. But one thing we cannot do is the will of the leader to make a decision. To make a decision to say food security is a national security. We have to produce our own food. Al-Malik Fahd and Dr. Abdurrahman al-Sheikh, when they receive a very nasty letter from the Secretary of Agriculture, I think his name is David Black, I think. They said, we will sell you wheat at 10 times cheaper than what you could produce. And we said, no, we'll produce our own. Now, I'm not going to tell you, you produce all your own, but I will strongly recommend any country will produce 30%, minimum 30%. Even Singapore now, it's an island or it's a city. Now they have adopted the system and they said 30% of Singaporean food will be produced locally in Singapore. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to add something to that question? Kevin?
Well, I'll just echo what Dr. Turki said, because I've been involved with the Singapore 30 by 30 program. It's exactly right, and they've been very innovative with a lot of high-tech agriculture, greenhouse technology, aquaculture, aquaponics, insect production. So it's certainly something that is a global issue, and I totally agree. Much of it is politics, but a lot of innovative agriculture is coming out of it right now. And this is what we're going to need is technology, education, and cooperation to get there.
I just want to add, one comment, emphasize what you just said about food security is also politics. And that's very important. We can try a lot of things, use science and technology, innovate and all the things. If we don't have, if you don't move to our, implementation, through having like a leadership that pushes for these things to happen, then we are also stuck. So it's interesting that Saudi Arabia is making major step toward actually the leadership in making the science and the policy go together. So that's also very important. The other issue, which is also politics, is access. One thing is to have food available, at a national level, at a regional level. Another thing is to make food accessible to people. So that is also politics. So I think the interaction between, science and technology and politics, as you mentioned, is very important also to underscore here. Any other question from someone else? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for the valuable presentation actually. I would ask about Dr. Turki, what is the, can you give some example about the key feature of social agriculture? Can you, key feature of social agriculture? Yeah, that's my question. Can you just give some brief or example and our comment about this? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Agriculture, it's a two hat. One hat, which is state-of-the-art industry, like Saudi Arabia did with the agriculture, like Saudi Arabia, what they did in the dairy farm. You have to understand or to remember the reason Saudi Arabia went into agriculture in the 80s, late 70s, it was because of political reason. The American government have blockaded export of wheat to Russia. And then Reagan, basically, he made it very clear that a barrel of oil for a bushel of wheat. So Saudi Arabia, when took that decision, the decision being met by people like myself, all businessmen, not the traditional farming. So all high-tech, the state-of-the-art technology. And by the way, the second user of technology worldwide is the agriculture sector. We use a very high-tech, but leave that sector alone. Let's go now to the other side. Let's say the homegrown chicken, the local chicken, the local sheep, the small Bedouins who have about 200 sheep. Let's say the ladies or the men who are growing 5, 6 cows in the mountain, the small rumman, the small moz, which is a local varieties. You cannot expect those people to say, well, you have to make business, you have to be profitable. No, no, no. This is a national strategies. You have to protect them. You have to support them. One of the best things King Abdullah did, he said all the gifts by Saudis must be dates, Saudi dates. That is a good to promote it. So social agriculture is giving support, technical, financial, marketing. Let's say in Al-Baha, they grow a very good quality rumman, but they cannot put it in a good boxes. They don't know how to treat it. So we have to support it. University of Al-Baha must support it. The business community must support it. The Saudi government must support it. And you cannot just say, well, you have to break even. You have to compete with the world. No, this is not a strategy. So social agriculture is for a very small scale farmer. And trust me, it's a lot cheaper than buying one airplane, and it's a lot more effective on your national security. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. I will also just add one thing. I really like the concept of social agriculture because it puts people at the center of agriculture at the end. And that is very important because after all, the technology, I mean, the money, all this, stuff is supposed to be improving living conditions of people. So social agriculture is also about, I just want to add that other feature in terms of the human dimension of the whole concept. That's really very, very interesting. So let's move to the next question. I think Kloja, you had a question. Can you give her the mic? Thank you.
So there was a significant amount of conversation, including with social agriculture, with regard to collaboration. I'm curious if any of you can give some examples of successful collaborations, and specifically some that are unlikely collaborations. Sometimes it's very easy for us to collaborate with our usual partners, but when we step outside of the box and collaborate with people who are unusual for us, at times there's increased success. So I'm just curious if anyone has examples of that.
Good question. Who would like to say something about that? Go ahead.
Well, number one is follow the money. So who's going to pay for it? So the University of Arizona or the University of Al-Baha or the IFAD, they're not going to cooperate with a lot of small farmers, 30,000. Could you imagine working with 30,000 farmers in Saudi Arabia or anywhere in the world? It's a nightmare. But there is an incentive. The Saudi government come and could say, okay, we're going to give $30,000 to this village, and then we're gonna cooperate with, say, American University, Beirut, and then we're gonna work with the local government, and you give me project. Kevin talked a lot more about it, is the US, they come and they said, we're going to pay X amount of dollar to this country. They go to the University of Arizona and they said, hey, are you willing to do it? Yes, and then they sent Kevin. I leave Kevin to elaborate on this.
So USAID, Agency for International Development, has worked with the University of Arizona for many years, and it's mostly what Dr. Turkey would call social agriculture, almost always geared towards smallholder farmers and agricultural education, sometimes university, but even more through social technology type training, a lot towards women and a lot towards marketing, because traditionally smallholders have the least market power of anybody, often with perishable goods, poor transportation, and so anything that can be done to help that value chain, from educating the farmer all the way up through getting the food to the market, is oftentimes supported with USAID funds. In recent years, they have focused on Africa, what we call Feed the Future countries, whereas before it was more than 100 countries, now it's down to about 25 or 27, mostly in Africa. And then in Asia, Nepal, Bangladesh, I think that's it anymore. So that's basically where USAID is these days. I don't know what's going to happen in the coming months. We'll see.
Thank you. And I also want to add one thing, just one possible collaboration, just to give a concrete example. Right now, we are starting a new project in the Sahel with Niger as a place to experiment that, is to create a master's degree in agrobusiness for young people in the Sahel, so they have an opportunity to make money and to feed their own people, so they won't be joining crazy organizations like Al-Qaeda or others. So they stay in Niger and they don't need to go also to Europe. So we're starting that, and it's a small project with the help of USAID, actually around $7 million, 6.8, I believe. And the idea is to let's say the first year we get 50 students with an MA, and they learn all the wonderful stuff from what Sani is doing, and you have a lot of Nigerians like him also there, but they don't have the means actually to perhaps get land and things like that. Imagine, as you suggested the other day, a young woman who's like 25 years old, or a young boy who's like 30 years old. Now they have 1 hectare of land, they have their title, and then investment. Okay, you provide small things like inputs for fertilizers, and good seeds and stuff like that, drought resistance. They can take off. They can build their own business, growing value crops in Niger and also somewhere else. Like, that's an area where perhaps there could be collaboration also, even from Saudi Arabia and maybe also other partners, to build that program, beyond Niger, and to make it a successful one, so you can bring hope. Because sometimes when young people lose hope, they don't see, a future, a meaningful future for them, they can do all kinds of crazy things. So that's just another example of possible collaboration between different partners, and also sharing the knowledge. Like what he created in Niger, for instance, is being now shared with other countries, and it's making a huge difference. But the means sometimes lack. And we know that Saudi Arabia has been helping countries in Africa for many years. We also know, unfortunately, in many places, sometimes the impact is limited. So we need to be thinking outside of the box. Different ways to do business, in Africa and elsewhere that are going to be more portable for people in general. Sunny, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to add something about all what you said. Is our experience when we started entrepreneurship to implement the innovation. First of all, when we went to our customer, we are farmers. They said they're not going to afford it because it's kind of expensive for them. So we come back to decide to change our model. Instead of going straight to them, we try to collaborate with local NGO and international NGO so that they can at least buy a prototype for a village so that to see the value proposition or the value of our technology. So when they start accepting, or they say, okay, your solution is good, but still we can't afford it. So with this collaboration, we move forward to microcredit. And also we went there to collaborate with them, to accept to give our solution as a loan for those rural areas with rural farmers who want it. We contract with them around, like anyone who wants to buy, who wants our solution, they can get it as a loan. But still, we are thinking about how to make it accessible for rural, because our target was based on about like the rural farmers. So we also try to think about, as you said, be above, we think about how we can make it accessible. Now we come back to the government. We went to a project of government, then we talk about the solution, the importance of the solution, how it's going to change rural farmers. So they accept it, and they say, okay, we are going to subsidize 50%. So we sign, we call it three-party contract with our company, the government, and the microcredit. So they will have 50% subsidy. They're going to pay 10% first, then the others will be as a loan. Like the 40% will be as a loan. That's how we make a partnership, and it's working in Niger. We are trying to implement this solution in other countries too. Thank you.
I think we're running out of time. I would like to suggest, as a way of concluding this, to give to each one of the panelists 1 minute, just like what would be a key, take-home lesson here from today's sessions and from hearing from different people, different experts, and also the audience. What do you would like to say in 1 minute in terms of key take-home recommendation that you would like to make? Let's start with you.
Okay. Food security is the political aspect of sustainable agriculture strategies. Every challenges that you could think of, we could manage it. It is manageable. What's not manageable is the will of the leadership to make such a decision and to give it as a priority.
Thank
you. Okay. I didn't talk much about food security during my talk, but I would say that the most important thing that we're working on here in Saudi Arabia is really to try to understand the biology of the native species and to use that information to help green Saudi Arabia. So I think our really aspect is really working with native plants and learning how these function, how they can function in the extreme environment of Saudi Arabia. What I say about Saudi is it's hotter than hell and there's no water. So how do we actually do this? And then this is what we're trying to do by understanding the biology of these organisms.
Thank you.
Okay, in my case, I'm going to say that agriculture is the future, and technology can make the agriculture more future than we think. And and what I want to add is like, when you take the technology right now, you can ensure that your food security will be more than sure if you use the best way the technology. Thank you.
Kevin?
Thank you. One of the best things about my job at the University of Arizona is to try to work with virtually all of our, 250, 280 faculty members of what their research is. Virtually all of it has to do with the new frontiers of agriculture, and see how these can be applied on international basis is basically what my job is. And seeing the breadth of technologies, the dedication of the faculty and their students and their colleagues and their staff to bring these technologies to bear in U.S. agriculture and international agriculture gives me a lot of faith that we can do it. There's so many dedicated people working so hard, and the technology is advancing so quickly that I think we can, with the caveat that Dr. Rashid points out, that at some point we also need to have political leadership that's going to let it happen. That's going to be the big thing, and I totally agree on that aspect.
Thank you very much. I would just add my own recommendation at the end, and also, thank the audience here. First, I think collaboration is very important, and I hope that this COP is really fascinating. A lot of things are happening, and I hope it won't stop just here. That when we leave Riyadh, that other initiative, we keep basically the lights on food security, level security, and also collaboration between researchers. Also look at issues in a holistic way, so we have expertise from different areas of science and different areas, different part of the world. And as we said, this issue of desertification doesn't know boundaries, and when you have crisis, also sometimes it can, it's a global issue. So we need to figure out also global solutions to those issues. At the end, I just would like to thank everybody here for the time you took to come to this wonderful session. And we also would like to thank all our partners, in South. We've been having wonderful time here since we came here. And we would like to thank everybody for making it very nice. And we're looking forward to coming back again for other opportunities, to share experiences and case studies. Thank you very much.